morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is George Chukwu. We are here today on Election Watch in Anambra State, all the way. And so good morning here from Canada. Good afternoon in Nigeria, wherever you're watching from London, from all over the world. We say welcome to this Election Watch. I'm the host, George Chukwu, and I have co-host over here, Amaka. Amaka, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, good morning from Canada and good afternoon all over the world, Europe and Nigeria. And my name is Amaka BK, the host of Legacy, saying hi and corresponding with the host, George, and also analyzing Anambra Decides today.
That's right. So we also have two young men that are going to be joining us, to discuss the Anambra election and what has been going on for the past few months, leading to this great day, November 6th, when we will decide who is going to take over from Obiano, Willie Obiano, who is the current governor. So currently we have about 18 candidates that are vying for this position, but not all of them are we going to be mentioning today. So right now I want Dr. Somkena, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi everyone. My name is Somkena Bango. I'm currently completing my doctoral degree in University of Waterloo in Canada here. I'm just here to contribute my knowledge on this Anambra Decides.
All right, thank you. Welcome. We also have another guest, Jerry Osita. Jerry Osita, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Jerry Osita. I am a Biafran. I have a background in international relations, economics, and international humanitarian law. I'm happy to be here with you all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. So far, we have, like we said before, we have 18 candidates that are vying for this election right now in Nigeria. And out of the whole entire 18, what we have is about 5,000 polling units spread across the 21 local governments of the Anambra State. Now, the independent INEC said that about 2.5 million people were registered for this vote. So currently, we are receiving some information from Nigeria about things that are going on. For instance, at this very moment, about an hour ago, we received information from Newi local government that they will have not been able to receive their calling sheets. So they decided they're not going to vote until they get the current one. So, and as of the moment, Chukwuma Soludo, who is one of the candidates, have not been accredited. So they are still waiting to see what is going on. But in the meantime, before we get some more information from Nigeria about what is going on, let's discuss, the things that has been happening. Can you tell us a little bit of what you know about things that has been happening in Nigeria, in Anambra State, regarding the insecurities, things leading to the election with the killings and everything that is going on?
It's quite heartbreaking that there has been a lot of killings, and of course with the IPOB, sit at home order, which pretty much happens almost every day of the week, and it's been ongoing for about 4 weeks now, if I'm correct. And it's pretty sad, but I thank goodness that the election is going forward with the government bringing in a lot of security officials, including the police and I think some army. And I think now it's more like a safe place for the election. We'll see what happens from now.
Yes, we received news also that, the federal government sent a lot of troops, to Anambra State. And from what we have been receiving, there are presence of the military people all over in Onitsha, in Oka, in most of the local government areas, to keep peace. Now, talking about the sit at home, recently we received news also on Thursday that one of the members of the IPOB did make an announcement that sit at home, has been cancelled, that people can go and vote. Now, I want us to discuss that a little bit. because for a long time there was 1 week of sit at home, which a lot of people were afraid to come out because for a long, for quite a few months now, there has been like sit at home on Mondays.
Yes.
Okay, people are not going to work,
Yeah.
and whenever the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, is going to court, they mandate everybody to sit at home. Now, let's kind of talk about that a little bit, and why is it that they turned around and say, now you can go and vote? Can we get your input about that?
Well, I think first is the government, and which is a powerful force, and then also I may think that probably IPOB is looking at it from the aspect that if you give the election what they're asking, we probably get what we're asking from the government in terms of our leader being released from detention.
Okay. So what do you say to that, Jerry Osita?
Well, looking at what's going on in our land, especially in Igbo land or Biafra land, one would not be far away from having a very succinct definition of a land grab, an occupation. We have seen in recent days or in the past few weeks, massive deployment of troops in Igbo land just to go to an election. I dare say that if we have half of this troop deployed in the north, banditry, terrorism would have ceased so far. So what we have in Anambra is not an election. Those who are propping it up, no, we are not conducting an election. You just said in your preamble, some of the candidates have not been accredited. Some of the polling votes materials have not reached there. We have seen pictures and videos of tampering going on in different parts of the states. So we know what's going on, and we are not fools. But we urge Nigerians and the world to open their eyes to this reality and understand that what is going on in Nigeria is but a stage-managed election to recycle back rogues and incompetent fools back into office again to continue the subjugation and the oppression of the people. This is what I will say at this moment as we continue.
Yeah, Dr. Sonkine, do you have any any input to what is going on in regarding the sit at home and why the IPOB on Thursday decided to to cancel the sit at home? What do you have to say?
In my opinion, I strongly agree with Jerry. I think just from what I think about what happened, they had probably thought about that if they didn't release this sit at home, there was going to be a pass of blame. Because what I think is going to happen is the federal government, if the sit at home still remain, it will just be an imposed election. APC will definitely win landslide because people don't vote. So they will still declare a winner, which will favor the federal government imposed candidates. So I think they had probably thought about it and said let people go and vote. But honestly, there's already voter apathy. There's almost what seems like it's almost like we're in a war zone. How can you arrange 30,000 security personnel in a typically peaceful place? I mean, I understand there's been insecurities, but you cannot compare it to what's been going on in the north. But I mean, with Igbos and our history with the Nigerian security forces, people will stay at home. So that's the thing. I don't know if we're really having an election or we're having a staged, like Jerry rightfully said. I mean, one of the front runners, which is Professor Chukwuma Soludo. I mean, how can he not be accredited? They've had months to plan for this thing. On the day of election, you are getting this kind of news. I mean, it just already puts doubts on the results that are going to come out. So, I mean, I'm hopeful. I've always been hopeful, but honestly, I don't know. I just think, like you said, it's a staged election. So that's my opinion.
Okay, yes, I do understand that. But, okay, another question that I want to ask is, on Monday, this particular week, one of the federal government officials, commander, did send a warning that, first of all, they sent some lady military men, or women, I'm sorry, all the female soldiers came to the Anambra state. Part of the reason why they did that, they said they don't want people to think that if we send men, they will feel intimidated. We want to bring peaceful election, therefore they sent a lot of females. But also, the men said that we will not sit back if there are some hoodlums who will come out to bring, battle or start fighting or disrupting the election, that they will fight back. So my question to all of you is, do you think that particular warning and also the number of the military people that were sent was the reason why the IPOB decided to say, okay, let's cancel the sit at home?
Well, basically, the federal government can subjugate anyone that we know all over the world. It's their interest, first of all, and secondly, I think it's quite disappointing that regardless of what IPOB stand for and what they're agitating for, it seems like the federal government will ultimately push their agenda, and for peace sake, and I think for the lives that have been lost already, IPOB would have to think, think from all sides and everyone involved. So I really don't know what happened, but there must have been some sort of negotiation, probably not fully disclosed, but then again, it's happening. We just hope for the best from now going forward.
What do you have to say, Dr. Somkene, before we go back to Jerry Osita? By the way, the name of the Major General Babagana Mangono was the one who made that announcement on Monday. And he brought, that we want a peaceful election. We don't want any agitation. And therefore, we're sending, female soldiers to the region to make sure that the killing does not continue and that there will not be any disruption in the polling stations. So, Dr. Somkene, can you please let us know, what do you think about that? Do you think that IPOB called off that election simply because of the warning, or is there another reason why they deem it necessary to do so?
So first of all, I kind of want to clear the narrative that, there was planned violence, or whoever the sit at home would have created some form of violence. I do not think that was going to be the case. This is just the narrative the federal government was playing. That's why they felt justified to bring 30,000 people. There was no amount of violence that would have happened that would have sought 30,000 personnel. Like, this thing is psychological. You can't bring in that amount of military, and people see trucks and tanks going around, and they've already, that's a sit at home already. They'll make people stay at home. People are afraid. People have been seeing videos of what's been going on in Imo states, in all of these states where the military are just conducting exercises. So, at the end of the day, I think IPOB, this is my own opinion, I can't say for what IPOB has done. Obviously, there's behind the scenes negotiations and all these things go on, but I just felt like, they wanted to give people their will, go out and vote. Let it not look like the government had the free reign to just impose anyone. Let it look like an election, which I don't even believe is an election. So, but I can't really say what happened behind the scenes. But I don't want this narrative to play that there was going to be violence. We can't say. All this whole thing is this whole Nigerian history with Igbos. They use federal mights for every little thing they assume will happen. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think also we should not rely on the fact that people have been living in fear since the lockdown, the mandated lockdowns. And if it was just a lockdown without any violence recorded, then I think it would be a peaceful lockdown and non-participation. But people have been dying, people have been killed for no reasons, and we don't know who is behind these killings. We don't know if it's IPOB. We don't know if people are, using the fact that IPOB is mandating sit at home to carry out their own evil acts on people. So we know how this could actually be manipulated. So I think people are living in fear, and any any iota of hope is always welcome. I'm also fascinated by the fact that they brought in female
military soldiers,
military personnel to bring in the narrative that women bring about peace. Women are not as
intimidating.
And that's quite interesting. And I hope they involve women in a lot of things that they're doing, including negotiations, because women are not as greedy. Women are not as physically would I say intimidating as men would be. So yes, we want to see more women, and women being used for what they represent.
Okay. So before I come to you, Jerry, in the 2019 election, we also know that the leader of IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, had boycotted the election completely from the eastern region, and he didn't want anybody to go and register. And then also, we do understand that a few days before the election, now he said that we have negotiated and that all our requests has been met, and now you can go and vote. Now, before you answer, my question to you is, what sense would it make when you tell the eastern region people not to go and register at all, not to boycott the election, but a few days before the election, you're telling them to go and vote because you have negotiated with the federal government and all our request has been made. Because I'm looking at that and then looking at this on Thursday when, a member of IPOB made an announcement, okay, we are now, saying, you don't have to sit at home, you can now go and vote. So tell me, is it not actually shooting ourselves on the foot, number one, by saying don't register a few days before, when registration has months passed, you tell them to go and vote? Now, or also on this particular one, you're boycotting the election, but a few days before then, how many days? 3 days before then, you say you can now go and vote. What is that really doing to the mentality and the psyche of the people when you are mandating them to do something, but last minute you're telling them go back and do it? What kind of result would you get with the number of people who will still be afraid not to come out, to go and vote? Could you please answer that?
Thank you very much. That's a wonderful question. But before I go into the question, I just want to clear something else here. IPOB is the Indigenous People of Biafra. This is not a generic term. I think it's wrong to call it IPOB. You cannot call it United States of America. You start to call it USA. This is a country of a people. This is an entity. This is a nation. So let's take that correction. Now, at the heart of the Nigerian states, the principles that govern Nigerian state, at the heart of it lies a code of deception. You must understand this. Nigerian state is at best what you can call a rogue state. It's unfortunate that we have so many intellectuals in the country, especially in the southern part of Nigeria, whose job basically is to make sense of the anomaly that goes on in the country. Now, in terms of the question that you asked about IPOB boycotting the election and at the same time also calling people to go back to the election, in 2019, you must understand that it was IPOB's position to boycott the election, which is their legitimate right. That's the only option left to the common man, to not violently protest against an unfair electionary process. That's the only option left to us. If the election in the state is compromised or manipulated, if the whole system is a sham, the people in the democratic section, the only option left for them is to boycott. This is the right, just like Seeker's Call, which is a passive protest or passive reaction against an unjust system. So in 2019, when we called up the election and later we asked for the election to go on, there were last minute negotiations that went in, which was basically to come to terms with the propositions we made as conditions for the election to be held in Igbo land. The last minute, some of those conditions were promised to be considered, but after the election, just like the Nigerian state is used to, it was rescinded. None of those promises were kept. Now, in this current situation in Anambra State, we have an election in Anambra State like none other. But when you look at the pictures running up to this election, running up today, you will think there is a war in Anambra State. I have never seen massive deployment of troops before in my life, in my own country. It is a shame that we are all here talking about election when we should be talking about the real thing going on in our land. The Nigerian states, according to their own laws, 1999 Constitution, which was the reason why IPOB was designated as a terrorist group, the Nigerian state currently is carrying out war on terror in Igbo land. Let's not be deceived. Let's not make mistake about this. The election is in Anambra, but we've seen military incursions, military raids, military destructions in Imo State, in Abia State, in Enugu State last week, and all parts of Biafra land. We saw what happened in River State at Justice Odele's house. Nigerians are at war against a particular people using APC as a cover, and the federal government as a cover as well, a legitimate cover to carry out the oppression of the indigenous people of Nigeria. I don't care if you are Igbo or Yoruba or Bagi or Hausa or Nupe or Baza, Hausa, or any other tribes in Nigeria, as long as you're indigenous to the land, there's war against you. So the election going on in Anambra State is just a pretext. There was an election in Imo State, remember that? Emeka did your first. And a few months after, we saw another person forced on the people. When I saw that happen, I thought there was going to be a protest. But after a week, nothing happened. I knew this is going to continue. They have tested us. They have tested our will. They think we cannot do anything. And that's why Anambra is happening. After Anambra, what next? If you use this amount of force to hold an election, how much force are you going to require to rule the people? That's the question we should ask it. Are some of these people vying for these offices, some of these candidates that we mentioned so far, both the ones accredited and the ones not accredited, they are all intelligent people. They are all smart people. They went to school, some of them schooled abroad, and they know what's going on. They are just going for power. They see their children killed on the streets. They see their daughters raped in the course of an election. They see the army commit massive terrorist acts against the people they're supposed to protect. And they call it election. I don't care if you bring female soldiers in the land, or if you bring male soldiers in the land. We all know that the Nigerian army, the rank and file of the Nigerian army is filled with terrorists at the highest level. What is going on in our land should be a wake-up call for everybody. This election boycott should not be limited to Anambra State. It should encompass the entire country. The political system in Nigeria is basically a weapon against the indigenous people. I don't care what tribe you are. As long as you're not a tribe that APC is protecting or trying to hand over Nigeria as a country on a platter. As long as you are not part of that tribe, you must wake up to what is going on in Anambra. Do not be disillusioned. Do not distance yourself that it is not my state. It's going to come to you. It's going to.
So I wanted to, let me interject for a minute, because I know that you had mentioned what happened in Imo State. Now, what happened in Imo State was the election was held, and it was alleged that about 30 polling stations were not announced at the beginning. So Emeka Ihedioha was declared the winner of the election, but consequently it went to the court. The court decided the first time that they confirmed Emeka Ihedioha as the winner. But when he went to the higher court now decided to look strictly into that, and they alleged that they discovered that those polling stations that were not counted, when they counted it, that the current governor, Hope Uzodinma, actually won the election. Even Soludo himself confirmed that what Hope Uzodinma did, that he went through the system constitutionally to receive the result that he had. So what I'm asking is, do you think that what happened in Imo State might happen in Anambra State? Because what we see was originally Hope Uzodinma was the last. He had I think 19,000 or 19 whatever. He was actually the last. I don't know the exact numbers. But when after the whole election was counted, he became number one. So The question is, if we believe that the federal government manipulated this whole system and installed who they wanted to put in there, do you think that it might happen in Anambra State? Let me talk to my co-host first.
Well, there is the would I say the concern or the possibility. It's the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, like what Doctor just said, Jerry, the best thing we could do is to vote by our conscience, and that's our own individual power to contribute to the government, to the selection process, and to the election. Because if we are going to push our agenda, even as IPOB or as individuals, as indigenous Nigerian citizens, we still need our own people. We need someone that we trust. We need someone that is accountable, that we all came out in mass to vote for. Now, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's is likely happening on ground. I mean, we have information. We're going to have correspondence shortly. But I tell you the truth, we have legitimate fear and legitimate concern and legitimate worry about what happened in Imo State happening in Anambra State. And even worse. But, again, we just wish the best.
Okay.
We have to approach these things with an open mind.
Dr. Sumkere, can you please tell us, what do you think about that? Because the concern a lot of people are having is that, based on what is happening in Anambra State right now, the federal government might come out at the end and say, okay, listen, something happened wrong, or maybe whoever legitimately wins might not be the will of the federal government. And then they will say, okay, we have to look into this, or they might install who they want. Is that real? And if so, why do you think so?
It's a legitimate worry because, it's a neighboring state. We've seen it happen, So these are some of the things that contribute to voter apathy, like where people just feel like there's no use participating in the process because it's already rigged right from the start. It's a sham election, but we can't say until the deed is done. You can only hope that this is not going to be the case. But what my worries are, especially as this election is set up with all of this, first of all, the boycott, the initial boycotts, then all of a sudden they are allowing people to go and vote, then the military presence, and history has shown that we've always been people have been apathetic to voting process in Anambra State. It's always been there. We've always had that problem. So I don't know. It's a perfect recipe, a perfect environment for the party to do what they choose to do, because they can claim whatever they want to claim, especially if people do not go out and vote. If people go out and vote en masse for someone, I'm hoping they will protect their votes, But if people sit at home, they can't do anything they want to do. But I just want to leave with this. I'm a very strong proponent of people exercising their rights to vote. I understand the boycotts and all these things, but it's your right to vote. You have to participate in the process. I don't like people sitting out of the process. Do it. It may not play any role in the eventual decision, but it's your right to participate in the process. So this is one of the places I slightly disagree with the boycotts or sit at home. I believe people should go out and exercise and protect their votes. That's where I know that's one of the reasons why they could do that thing in the States. People just were lax about it. They just became complacent and allowed whatever happened. If they felt Ihede won the election, people should have either I run and I re-election. But it's what it is. I just hope with this Anambra election, people vote and protect their votes. So yeah.
Okay, Jerry, on that note also, I just wanted to, for you to bring your input on this. Now, we understand that previously when there was a mandate by indigenous people of Biafra leader for people to stay at home at a particular day, and some people negligently went out there, and we saw pictures of what happened. There were killings. There were people burnt alive in buses. There were so many things that were happening that was very unnatural and very, not civil, whatsoever. As a result of that fear, many people, even after they announced and say, oh, you can now go out and do your trading, okay, and they were still afraid because they didn't know what was going to happen to them, number one. Number two, talk about the economic impact on the, on the people of Eastern region, where when you don't tell them not to go and trade for certain days, many people who are actually depending on their daily bread to go out daily to eat, they are not. So it's been reported that billions of naira has been lost from the Eastern region because of all the mandates. And now all of a sudden, many people are not going out on Mondays, though that they are allowed to go because out of fear, they don't know what's going to happen to them. Now, many of them are starting to go to school on Saturday because they can't go to school on Monday. So do you consider that to be a negative effect on our own people when you are killing your own people, and then mandating them and stagnating the economy of the Eastern region? What do you say about all that?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, like I said earlier about deception, I have to understand how the system in Nigeria works. You have a system that basically employs every manner of weapon, every manner of process, and weaponize it against the people. IPOB, first of all, is not a violent organization. IPOB does not have any violence in its vein. In the past, for instance, we have seen in the past few weeks, we have seen several unknown gunmen, so-called unknown gunmen, engage with the police and the army. And we've seen casualties on the side of the unknown gunmen, and they were eventually found to be DSS officials. You see, the Nigerian government has a systematic approach towards the Southeast. When you say that boycotting an election or sit at home destroys the economy of the East, the economy of the East, the destruction of the economy of the East is the principal objective of the Nigerian state to destroy. It is in their principle to destroy the economy of the East. We have so many resources coming out of the Southeast, but you don't have any of their headquarters located in the Southeast. You don't have any manufacturing base in the Southeast by the government of Nigeria. You cannot have a license to operate any company in the Southeast that can employ over 50 people in the Southeast. You see what happened to Ibeto. We see so many frustrations from the federal government against any enterprise in the Southeast. The Southeasterners are the ones who pay the most taxes in the entire country. We saw what happened about the BATs in the north. The BATs generates a whole lot of money to keep the country going. This is taxes paid by Igbo traders in the north and the entire country. When you say that sitting at home to drive home your point or to show that you are angry about the system of unfairness, when you show that by sitting at home and not engaging in trade, it's not destroying the economy of the Southeast. It's basically the only way you can cry out so the world can hear you. And you did not go down for silence. We must not make mistakes about what is going on in Nigeria. You see, they make us all look like fools. I dare to say, I'm going to mention this so that everybody will understand this. This is how the Fulanis operate. They have to bring you to their mouth so we can roll in the mouth with them. We can all fight each other, but who benefits at the end of this fight? It is the same one who wants to take over our land and our resources, the same one who has absolute control of all the agencies and all the institutions that we have in our land, both economy, security, and otherwise. The same people, they're not very smart, but they're smarter than us, even though we have all the degrees in the whole world. But we, out of fear, are making sense of the anomaly. We are normalizing the nonsense that is not supposed to be. Is this what we are going to bequeath to the next generation? Are we going to keep flying out of the nations that we call our home? Are we going to keep leaving our land in search of greener pastures? Or are we going to make the ultimate sacrifice now to build a nation fitting to our choice and our desires, fitting to be bequeathed to the next generation? Or are we going to be going round and round recycling what is in essence the charm of government or politics?
Okay. So now, currently, we are looking at all the candidates that we have. We have Andy Oba, we have Soludo, we have a lot of others. Now, we understand in Anambra State the impact that Governor Obi made when he was there. He basically turned the state right side up. We were witnesses to all the progress that was made in Anambra State. After 8 years of Willie Obiano, most of those progress that were made has been turned upside down. The roads are not movable. There are so many infrastructure that Obi put in place that were destroyed within that 8 years. Now, how much of what is going on in the state right now and the other eastern states do we hold the governors responsible? Because we can be talking about the federal government all we want to. But if the people that are being installed or we say that we are voting in are not doing what they're supposed to do, and now we are bringing some new people in, we don't know who's they're going to be put in there. When is it that we as the Eastern region people will start taking, holding, accountable to these governors that are supposedly or allegedly all the money that is being given to them is being channeled or funneled into other areas? Because we can talk about the federal government. We can talk all we want to. But within our own house and within what you call the Eastern region people, when are we going to hold these people responsible? Because we know that in most of the Eastern region, development is stagnated. And it is not because of the federal government. Because they're receiving their security votes, funding, they're receiving what is due them, but the infrastructure is not being, put together. A few years ago, I want to remind you guys, there was a man called Ngige, who was a governor of Anambra State. This Oba family was part of who kidnapped him because he refused to release money. Under that platform, Peter Obi came in and started working and had so much money left in the coffers, Anambra State. Now, it was internal that they tried to impeach him, and when they impeached him, it was alleged that the account that he put together with billions of dollars of investment was empty before he came back. He started afresh. So let's talk about how we can hold our own people, our elected officials responsible rather than blaming the federal government. Can we talk about that, please? Anybody, you want to? Okay, Jerry, let's hear from Jerry first.
Okay, thank you very much for elaborating that point. But still, I'm going to go back to the same discussion. Right? In order to maintain the discussion, you must put in power those who are incompetent. The same person you mentioned here, Ifeanyi, who did all this manner of people, is the same person the ruling party is propping up as the governor of Anambra State. And make no mistake, you're going to hear him as the winner of this election, whether or not the election was held or not.
Are you talking about Andy Oba or Ifeanyi Oba? Ifeanyi Oba is actually different. He's a senator right now.
Andy Uba.
Okay. Andy Uba is representing the APC.
Yes.
That's right.
The person representing the APC,
okay.
The federal government has records of all these crimes, and those are what they're going to dangle over his head to keep him alive. So, when you put criminals in office, knowing fully well they're criminals, the reason you put them there is so you can have control over them. So they can never do the will of the people. And you provide them security as long as it does it. Look at what is going on in Imo States. We must not talk about the head and forget the fruit. You see, the worst thing that has happened to us as a people was not the colonization of our people or the price of Atlantic slavery. I think it was one of the things that happened to us was the removal of history from our curriculum. We do not know our history. We don't know where we're coming from. That's why we are all behaving like sheep without a shepherd. If we understand what is going on in our country, that we are being manipulated, that this whole thing that we call a country is not a country but an enterprise, benefiting only a few, that we all are like animals, wild beasts, both the domestic ones and the ravenous ones, all in the same cage. If you can kill anybody, kill the person. You can exploit anybody, exploit that person.
Okay.
We see what's going on in the east of Nigeria. When you talk about the economic activities in the east of Nigeria are being stagnated. Abia State, Aba, for instance, generates about $3.7 billion every year to the economy of the nation. Onisha generates even more than that. Nnewi generates even more than that. But you don't have any road to bring in goods in or out of these areas. This is not from the states. This is a strategy from the highest level of your government, from Abuja, making sure that this happens. Yes, the people, we can hold our elected officials accountable, but we're not going to take up arms against them.
Why not?
The only thing we can do is to show the world and to the whole system that we are not happy about this by boycotting the election, which is what IPOB employed. And we urge everybody to understand that this is not in any way going against the democratic process. Boycott is also a democratic process. It is a way of people showing their desires in terms of what is going on with them. If I give you my mandate and you mess up with my mandate, I have the right not to give it to you the next time. I have the right to actually abstain from the process of giving you my mandate. It is my right. You cannot weaponize an election. You cannot weaponize politics. Everything you call sane or democratic has been weaponized against the indigenous people in the land. I don't care if it is happening to the Igbos or to the Kanaris or to the Yorubas or to the Hausas. It is the same thing, the same objective. Piecemeal by piecemeal. That is why Quarter A is condemning it, Quarter B is in support of it. Quarter C is condemning it, Quarter D is in support of it. We are all confused people because we are not looking at the real issues affecting us. We are not dealing with issues that are affecting us. We are all talking about politics. There is no political remedy to the situation our people is going through right now. Not in Nigeria, not anywhere in Africa.
Okay.
Africa's situation has gone beyond political solution. There's no political mind in the world that can fix the problem in Nigeria. It has gone overboard. The only remedy is a popular revolution. It might be in any way, but the people must stand up and take back their land. That is the only remedy. And boycotting the election is a step in the right direction.
Okay. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to respond to Jerry. Anyways, we clearly hear you. We hear you loud and clear. Some things that you said are things I would consider from a personal perspective, or would I say personal? You take it personally in certain areas. Talking about boycotting the election, I don't think that's a fact. As we speak, the elections have not been boycotted, even though it seemed to be the objective. But unfortunately, things turned around. Unfortunately, on the upside for some people, things turned around late, or would I say
3 days before.
99 minutes, and people are now voting. So having said that, I think also because you being personal about these things, you also not speaking on the idea that IPOB needs improvement. You know, so I'm just going to ask, where do you think, if any way, that IPOB needs to improve? Do you think IPOB is well organized, well structured, very practical in their approach? Or do you think that there are areas that they haven't yet explored that could have helped, or that could help?
Okay, I know that question was directed to Jerry, but let's have Dr. Somkene, take a view on that before Jerry comes in.
So, I'll just say broadly, I'm of the opinion that our governors have failed us. Right from the return back to democracy, all our governors have failed us. They've been willing tools to the federal government, to their agenda, to whatever ruling party has planned to do, they've been willing tools. And honestly, I kind of understand Jerry's opinion about like boycotts and doing everything for world recognition. But I'm just going to be honest, the world does not care. They can say, smile and pretend, they don't care. Our battle will start from us. There's nobody that will come to our rescue, unfortunately. You have to do whatever you have to do. And it starts with holding your government accountable. I'm telling you, the federal government does not care. They will continue installing wherever they want to install and do whatever they want to. the moment they know we are not going to take nonsense again, things will start. The future will just have to shape up. It's just what these things follow a natural progression. Once they see the people, I'm telling you, if people start entering the streets and taking these people, they will just, their hands will break. I understand. And now about these election things and about what they do. And you're right with the history of Nigeria. It's been structured to psychologically break down people over time. What they will do is they will flood the streets again with the army. Igbos have dealt with these things a lot. So I can understand the passiveness we have towards holding these people accountable. We've lived through a war. No one wants to leave. People just want to survive. So I can understand the passiveness sometimes. But I'm of the opinion the only way things will change, especially with our governors, is to hold them accountable, like aggressively hold them accountable. Because the federal government doesn't care. The world does not care. I hate when people keep saying, if you do this in US, nobody will come to our rescue. They will just watch. They watched the last time it happened. It's going to happen again. They are watching their countries. These things are happening. It's ethnic cleansing with certain groups. They are watching it. They are not doing anything. So I'm of the opinion that we start from home, and that's participating in an election, protecting your vote, doing what we can. It's a complex problem, but you have to start somewhere. You know, it's just what it is. You really have to start somewhere. If you sit at home, you can cry all you want to cry for 4 years. If Andrew Back comes back, they will come with the force of federal backing. You cannot do anything. You can only watch enough for 4 years. The IPOB will not even have an ally in the state government. They will come with the federal government and they will crush every opposition. You have seen it happen. Yes, look at Imo States. Just look at Imo States. I like that to be an example of what is going to come if people do not exert their will. So that's my opinion.
Okay, Jerry, before you come in, I want to also, while you're answering your question, I want you to veer in on this because we are blaming governors who are installed by the federal government. But let's take, for instance, Abia State. Governor Okezie is there. You mentioned how many billions of naira that are coming to the federal coffers, through taxes in Aba. But so far in Abia State, that's a deplorable state, whether we like it or not. We get it every day. What is happening in the main city where the federal government is getting their money. The governor of the state could actually do a lot in that particular state to make trading easier. If you go to Imo State today, to Abia State today, especially that commercial center called Aba, where many things are happening, yet that city is one of the worst cities ever. You've had so far as we speak, you've had Ojo Zokalo, Theodore Oji has been there, and then you have this. You multiply that by 3 of them by 8, or by 3, or by 8 years, I mean. How many years and how long would it take our people to begin to think and say, okay, wait a minute, man, you are receiving money. Why can't you center your attention on what is going on? And I want to ask you this because I want you to pay attention to what I'm about to say. Okay? When it comes to indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, I followed him for many years and I'm still following him. But one thing that I have not heard him say was one contradiction or one negative statement against Okezie Ikpeazu, who is the governor of Abia State. Yet all the atrocities and all the mess is going on in that state. Why did he not contradict him? Why did he not talk about him? What was it about Okezie Ikpeazu that made him to be quiet about that? And he is from there. He's from Umuahia, where the central thing is going on. Why, up until he was picked up in Kenya, did he not say a single negative thing about Okezie Ikpeazu? Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. George,
yes.
I don't think you've listened to most of his broadcasts. He has basically put Okezie Ikpeazu to the source several times. He's called Okezie Ikpeazu out. Whenever he mentions the raid in his home that left 28 people dead in his village in Umuahia, he has never spared any government in the East. He has basically beaten OKC as much as he's beaten every other government in the East. I can share some broadcasts with you later on, if you want. But in terms of blaming our governors about the poor state of affairs of our land, I think the blame also goes to the people. There's so much fear in our land, and so much disconnection in our land. This road that we look at, you can't travel a complete 1 hour anywhere in the East without seeing a pothole, a dangerous one like that. These things did not happen in one day. It started from a crack, people passed by, and then it expanded, and then they walk over, and the Okada all of them, they pass it. Everybody is avoiding it until it's expanding, and then becomes uncontrollable anymore. If at the first time you notice the crack, we have local government officials, we have senators, we have governors, and we have the federal. Every area of land, 10 kilometers of land, has someone who's in charge of those areas, the local government officers. If we have people who are basically patriots or citizens of the nation, who understand their responsibilities as citizens, it is your right to report such crimes or such anomalies to whoever is in charge locally. If there's no remedy, then go a little up. If there's no remedy, then go a little up. Then if there's no remedy, do what you can. If there's a crack in community, this is how our people are. We have basically been a people that you can describe as community economic developers. We contribute collectively. We built UNN collectively. We built Imo State Airport collectively, not the federal government. We can build roads. The people in Aba can fix their roads. Those businesses in Aba can fix those roads without any contribution from the state or the federal. But we prefer to give those money to the pastors, to the church leaders, so they can build their own universities, buy their own helicopters, and all the stuff. We have lost who we are. So the blame is for the people and the governors. So that's why I think the people have no will to confront these political officers. So what we must understand is this: we live here in North America. Some of us live in Europe. There are things we know that we cannot accept them if it happens here. But when we go home, we tolerate all this stuff. Why? My question is Nigeria or Africa in a different space? Are we not in the same universe? Are we in Mars, in Africa, or in Jupiter, that we can allow some rubbish to take root in our land? But we come here, we don't allow those things to happen. We know that these things are not real. If Mississauga, for instance, were to say, you know what, the mayor of Mississauga is corrupt, we don't want her in office, and in fact, the electoral process in Mississauga is corrupt, we don't want no election. We are boycotting this election. You are not going to see Ottawa mobilize troops from Oromocto or Berry to come here and force election. What they're going to do is the election will be suspended. The people involved will be talked to, and negotiations will be reached so that an election can be carried out.
Let me come in for a minute, okay? Because I know. Okay, what I'm saying is this: I know we will continue because we have to do some updates, from the eastern, from Anambra State about the election. But okay, so these are narratives that we have about what we think we should be doing. The question now is, if we have what we consider to be the leaders in our nation or in this state or in the southeast, why is it that we're not mandating all of these things towards the people? Because you're talking about going to church and giving money to the church, or talking about traders in Aba to bring out their money when they're paying their taxes. Those taxes are supposed to be used to bring the infrastructure to make trading easier. Why would I not pay my taxes and turn around and use my money to fix all of these things? When I leave the people and they take all the money that is being given for these infrastructures, they transfer the money outside of the country and live lavishly on it. So why would I do that? Because what I'm asking is, if that is the case, and yes, we indeed, You give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, you give to God what belongs to God. So why are we going to be expecting them to take the money out of their own pocket to do the infrastructure that the federal government is bringing money into the state for the governors to do?
Well,
Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm going to respond to that. I mean, partially, but I want to respond to Jerry when Jerry says, how come that in the diaspora where we live, we hold our leaders and the public servants accountable, and the federal government would not come to subjugate our opinion or our interest or us. The answer to that is Africans are largely sentimental. We are very sentimental because if the person in the office is not our friend, he's probably our schoolmate from our alma mater, or probably our in-law, or probably our relation. So yes, or from our hometown. And then that's why we are not able to stand together united as one and pass across our agenda and our interests objectively. There's hardly the objective side of things when we are projecting our interests. We project our interests, and you see someone rise and form a group to try to taper it down and say, you shouldn't sound like that, you shouldn't ask for this, or you shouldn't be, and half bread is better than none. When are we going to cut out the half bread is better than none? If we continue to say half bread is better than none, half education is better than none, half this is better than none, half road is better than none, half leader is better than none, we are never going to get anywhere. And I don't give a damn if it is IPOB in the office, or if it is Nigerians in the office, or if it's from east or west or north or south. One problem that affects one affects all. One bad leadership affects all of us. One bad road affects all of us. If you're not taking it to, you might be taking it through. And not only that, mind you that we don't know where we're going to land tomorrow. We don't know where our wives are going to come from, or our husbands are going to come from, or our children are going to be married to or married from. So don't ever think that one problem does not affect all. Again, southeastern states, that is the commercial heartbeat of the nation. I don't believe that anyone in their right senses will want to destroy that, because that is also a revenue source for the government, for the federal government. The federal government, all right, might want to have more control, more interest, or more access. But I'm not going to believe that the federal government wants to kill that, because they kill it, it affects them too. Who is going to be the heartbeat? Who is going to be the commercial center of the nation? That's the Southeasterners. And not only in the Southeast, but also Southeasterners anywhere they are in the world, home and abroad. So I think we have to call out anyone anyone who is part of the problem. We have to call them out. If they're IPOB members, we have to call them out. And again, I find it very interesting that during the debate, the governorship debate, no one talks about population. Did you know that the problem in Nigeria is population? Because when the population is not controlled, then you can't even sit and talk to the people. The IPOB members, do they know what the agenda is? Do they know who their leader is? How often do they communicate with their leaders? How often do they listen to their leaders? When the leaders say, we are not going to approach it this way, we are going to approach it the other way, or we are going to approach it tomorrow, are they able to listen? Who is talking to these people? How are they even, compartmentalized? There's a lot of work to be done. We have to do a lot of work. I am part of IPOB as well, but I'm not going to say that we are well structured. There is still structuring needs to be done.
Okay, so we're going to bring some updates as of 3:12 p.m. in Nigeria. I know it's it's far gone now, but as of 3 p.m. Only 27 people out of the 717 registered voters at Professor Charles Soludo's polling center, Isuofia Ward, polling unit 002, have cast their ballots. Now, if you go to Nnewi, there has been a riot going on in Nnewi simply because they were frustrated. They didn't have the right polling sheets that were given to them. So all these frustrations that are going on, now the question is, where is it coming from? because I'm quite sure that it is our own people who are in charge of these polling booths. So is it possible then that the manipulation that is going on is internal? Because if it is internal, are we going to blame the federal government here? So can we discuss that briefly? Because I want to bring a little bit more on that. I just want, one minute on this particular issue right now. So what do you have to say about that?
Oh, the polling.
Some of the things that are going on within the state,
Yeah.
there are frustration going on. There are people, fighting, frustrated because they can't vote, and others are refusing to vote because the right polling sheets are not being provided. So is this something that is happening internally? Is it manipulation from the state, or is it also part of the government, federal government manipulation?
I think it's a little of everything.
Okay.
You will not, we cannot rule out the fact that people take advantage of bad system. When a system is bad or corrupt, people are going to take advantage of it. If we think that that's not going to happen, then we are probably dreaming. It's a little bit of both and a little bit of everything. And again, I always say, we hope for the best, and we hope that this election is fully and finalized tonight, or at the latest tomorrow morning. And we hope that the candidate that isn't representing the interest of the people does not emerge the winner.
Okay, we're about to close, so let me give Dr. Somkene, could you just tell us a little bit about what you think about what's going on right now? Because there are many frustrations in certain places. Soludo voted late because of what's going on in his in constituency 002. About 717 registered voters, only about 27 voted as of 312. So now, and then in Nnewi itself, which is the place where Ifeanyi Uba came from, there's been a whole lot of frustration going on simply because they did not receive the proper things that are going on there. So can you give us what you think about what's going on internally?
So the election process is run by INEC. It's not run by any individual or any of this process. It's run by the Independent National Electoral Commission.
Exactly.
So, and you have to accept that these people also brought people that do not live in these states. They may be Igbos or wherever, but some of them do not live in these states. Some of them do not have an interest in these states. So they are just there to conduct an election. Now, we've known the history of INEC. They've run elections that are very incompetent, like almost borderline sham elections. They are just, they don't even pay the poll workers well. It's lack of security for those poll workers. There's been problems, problem. I remember they said, I read somewhere where they said a week ago or a few months ago, they burned some of the electoral equipment. So these things happen all the time. So I cannot for sure say where this problem came from or where this problem is coming from. But I will assume that ABGA, which is the ruling party currently, now will do their best to give the person that's going to run on their platform a better chance of winning. So I'm not going to throw fingers anywhere. I'm not going to say manipulation anywhere, anything. All I know, I'm putting the blame solely on INEC. They're the ones running the election. If people are incompetent, it's because they employed incompetent people to run the election or to conduct the election. Whether they're Igbos or they're Southerners or they're Northerners, they brought it solely on INEC. So that's where I'm going to leave it at.
All right, thank you so very much. As of now, 319, the INEC have some polling booths, an extra hour, simply because of the frustration that has been going on. So I believe that they give an extra hour for people to still come out and vote as of now. So what are your final statements, Jerry? We're going to close in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, brother. I'm gonna throw my weight behind Dr. Somkene, what he said about INEC being so responsible for what is going on in the states and also in most elections conducted in the country. You have to understand what is going on in our land in a very simple way. In the past week, we've been seeing trucks and buses of people, I don't know who they are, maybe Igbos, like Somkene said, or maybe Igbos, brought into the state, hundreds of them. We don't know the purpose of this. We don't know who the voters are, because from the information I'm receiving currently, people are still sitting at home. People are still barricaded in their own homes. So we don't know who are voting in the election. But to respond to something my sister said earlier about IPOB, we listened to what Malami said last week. He said that they are doubling efforts to make sure that the rest of the world recognizes IPOB as a terrorist organization. We also listened to what you said about Mongono. We also listened to the statement by Garba Shehu a few days ago, where he said that after this Anambra State election today, that IPOB will be dead totally.
Okay.
We
have 45 minutes for you. Go ahead. I'll finish up.
It was in this background.
45 seconds. I'm sorry.
IPOB actually called off the sit at home. We did not call it so that people can go vote. We called it so that people can use their conscience. Because what the government has planned, or what the APC has planned, was to use their bandits, so-called, to cause mayhem in the land and blame it on IPOB. This is what has been going on. Let's not make mistakes about it. They want you to attack your own, but they are the ones behind it all. So when you see election processes not going on very well, or materials not being sufficiently supplied, it is not the problem of the state or the local government, it is from INEC. This whole thing is state managed. We must not be dilly-dallying about the truth about this whole thing. This whole thing is state managed, and we must resist it.
Okay. So thank you so very much. Right now, I know you mentioned something about the buses that were coming in. It's been alleged that these buses, they don't know who were in it, and that it might have been people being brought from the north to come and vote. Personally, that's an allegation that is unsupported, unsubstantiated. Most of those buses actually were carrying the military people that were coming into the state. So that's what it was. It's been checked into, and it's been confirmed that these were the people. But, you know, just like social media, people will take videos and then have their own input or whatever they think in their mind that is going on. We know what's going on with some of the videos that we see. But I just want to, thank every one of you here today. Amaka, thank you so very much for co-hosting the show with me. Dr. Somkene, I want to appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking out your time to be with us and giving us your own input. Our brother Jerry Osita, amazing narration and what you have contributed to here today. I appreciate every single one of you. So like I said before, this is just the beginning. Right after the election, I believe we're going to have another one to discuss, about the outcomes of what we have discussed today, and then another input on what we think based on what we have said here today. So what we are praying is that the election in Anambra State will go smoothly, and that by God's grace, that the right person will be elected to, govern that state and bring it back to where it's supposed to be. So I want to thank every one of you, and I want to thank GBKM TV. In case you do not, you don't have the app, go and check in your app store. You will see GBKM, download the app so that you will keep up with what we're doing here. My name is George Chukwu, and I just want to appreciate every one of you and all the people listening from all over the world. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We appreciate your time and your effort, and we are signing out. Thank you so much.
Canada's #1 African barbecue, the Suya Spot. Serving and satisfying your Suya needs from multiple locations across the GTA, including Scarborough, Toronto. Also located in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Visit any location today or stay home and order through
DoorDash, Uber Eats, and